So we'll make these pretend like they're hydrogen atoms, and we'll make a script so that when they hit each other, they bond. They make a diatomic. So we'll need something that represents the diatomic molecule. To make this easy, go ahead and highlight sphere and sphere 1, and in the upper right deselect them. They're not deleted, but they won't appear, they won't get in the way of what we're trying to do. And now, up at the top, game object. This time we'll create what's called an empty. And here on the left you see it's just called game object, but we'll type in diatomic. So you can't see it because it's empty. It doesn't have anything. You see on the right there's no components attached to it. But it does have a position. So make that position 0, 0, 0. So it's right here in the middle of the scene. You can't see it. Now let's make another sphere. 3D object sphere. Comes out as sphere number 2, and once again we'll rename it bonded sphere. Or how about bonded atom? We're calling the molecule a diatomic. This is an atom. Okay, so its name is bonded atom. Now click it and drag it on top of diatomic. And what you should see now is that the bonded atom is indented and the diatomic has a little gray triangle. So this bonded atom is now a child of the diatomic. Let's position that bonded atom up on the right. X coordinate -0.45. Y coordinate 0, Z coordinate 0. So there's a bonded atom, and it should make sense to you that we're going to duplicate it. So Control D. You remember you can duplicate with Control D. And now we have bonded atom 1, very similar to what we did before. You can't see it because it's right on top of the other. So transform upper right, transform position X position 0.45 positive. I'm hoping this looks to you like a diatomic now. To make it even better, select the diatomic itself and give it a little rotation. So under Z for rotation, 10. So now it's got, as you can see, it's at a slight angle. So now we want the diatomic to be able to move. We've already written a script for movement. So make sure you've highlighted diatomic. On the right, add component. It's a script, and it is the sphere moving script. That's what you just wrote in the last instructional video. Alright, give it some kind of velocity here. How about 3 and -3? So if you know your vectors, that's a 45-degree angle going down and to the right. Alright, let's click play and see what happens. And it is not moving. So click play again. And down here at the bottom, this is when you look at your console. So project is on the left, console's right next to it. And you can see Unity is telling you that what the problem is. Missing component exception. There is no rigid body attached to the diatomic game object, but the script is trying to access it. So you'll recall that the script relies on having a rigid body. Diatomic doesn't have that yet. Easy to fix. So highlight Diatomic, add component, physics, rigid body. Clear the error message, and let's see what happens now. So it looks pretty good, but you may be able to tell it's being affected by gravity. So click play again. Go to the rigid body component on the diatomic. Deselect use gravity. And try again. So this is debugging. It's how you make progress when you're coding. So that looks pretty good to me. That's a nice diatomic molecule behaving, bouncing around, can spin. Fantastic. Okay, we're done with that part. So now, in order for this diatomic to be very useful, we want it to be a prefab game object. So it's very easy to do. Click your project tab. Notice you already have a folder for prefabs. Why don't we open it first? So these are all the prefabs that I put in to the starter package, but you've made a new thing that's worthy of being a prefab. So click the diatomic, drag it down here, and release. And now it is a prefab game object. The text up here in the hierarchy turned blue. So you can put this diatomic into any scene you want, and it will have these properties: sphere moving script and a rigid body component. So since it's a prefab, we can highlight this diatomic, and I'm just going to deselect it for now, not delete it. We can delete it, but now we've got the blank scene. Go back to the hierarchy, highlight sphere and sphere 1, and bring them back. There they are. So just to confirm where we are, if we click play, they move, and now we want to make it so that when they bounce into each other, they form a diatomic. Highlight sphere and add, on the right, add component. Scroll down, new script. And let's call this bonding script. Create and add. Once again, my Visual Studio came up automatically. Go back to Unity. Double click bonding script. Alright, and once again we have this nice blank coding space. So here at the top, you previously made a public float. It was a number as a variable. This time it'll be public, and it's a game object, and it is the diatomic. So the first word, public, means you can assign it in the inspector. The second word or words is what kind of thing it is, what kind of variable, and the third is the name of the variable. And now go to the bottom, give yourself a couple of lines, and type in this, no spaces, on collision, enter. Oop. Okay, so you should have seen that there was the multiple choice. Visual Studio will help you. Okay, so here's private void on collision enter. So this is a new function. This is a unity function. And you can see in the text here it says on collision enter is called when this rigid body has begun touching another rigid body collider. So that's exactly what we want. When this hydrogen atom hits another one, we want there to be a reaction. The default is collision collision, which I find very useless. So change the second collision to be other. Other is going to be the thing that this atom collided with. So this is a very useful function built into Unity that will enable you to do chemistry very easily. When the atoms collide, we want to do this. Instantiate. This is another very useful Unity function. Instantiate means to make something appear. And I need parentheses. And I need to say what do I want to instantiate. I want to instantiate a diatomic. So I've defined the diatomic up at the top here, the public game object. So now it will instantiate, it will make a diatomic appear when the collision occurs. The location of the diatomic is the next thing I have to type in. And this should be the transform.position. So this is where is the atom. Wherever the atom is on the screen, that's where the diatomic should appear. And there's this third variable here. You can see it came up here, quaternion, which is the rotation of the object. So for beginners, it's always identity, which means it's not rotated in any special way. It's just the way, it's just straight up. It's just straight up. Okay, so this will now do what we want as far as making a diatomic appear. But the reaction also takes away the original atoms. So to do that, the command is destroy is the easiest way to do it. Parentheses. Type in lowercase g-a-m-e, uppercase O, so it looks like this. Game object. So this is the atom that this script is attached to. So we destroy it, and then we also destroy the other game object. Other.game object. So these 3 lines of code will make the diatomic appear. It'll destroy this game object. It'll destroy the other one that it collided with. And now we save it. Control S. Okay, go back to Unity. The sphere has now the bonding script attached to it, but it does need a place for you to say what is the diatomic. So here, project tab, prefabs, there's your diatomic. So now highlight sphere, scroll down to find bonding script, drag the diatomic into the slot that says diatomic. Should have a little blue cube, that's a prefab. Okay, now go here to console tab in case there are any errors. You'll want to see them. And let's see what happens. Okay, something happened, but it wasn't what was desired. Let's try it again, see if you can watch it. Watch this sphere. And here it goes. Boom. So it did make a diatomic when it collided with the bottom wall. So that part of the script worked well, but it's got to be more specific, more selective. So let's code that. So here's the code for the bonding script, and we need to look at what is the other. Who did this atom collide with? If it's a wall, do nothing. If it's another atom, then make the diatomic. So I like to do that with what are called tags. Let's go back to Unity, and I've highlighted sphere. In the inspector, at the top you see tag. It's untagged. So we'll make a tag. To do that, you click the triangle, and at the bottom add tag. These are tags already in the project. Make a new one, so just click the plus. How about atom? Save. So it's atom with a capital A. This is case sensitive, so you have to be very careful. I will highlight both sphere and sphere 1. They're both atoms. We can tag them at the same time. So up here at the top, click the triangle, and now you should see the tag you created is here, atom. Great. Now back to the scripting environment. We need to add an if statement. If the other game object, so you have to be careful about case here, lowercase g, uppercase O, if other game object dot tag, two equal signs when we're comparing to see what is it what I want, quotation marks, atom, has to be capital A. Okay, so that looks good there, and the curly brackets with a return allows me to have space to now take these 3 lines of code, Control X, Control V. Now it will check when it collides. Is the thing it collided with, the other game object, is it tagged as an atom? If so, then we do this. Save. Control S to save. Back to Unity. Play. Can speed it up by pressing A. Boom. Oh, okay. Look at that. It did make the diatomic, but it's not a nice spinning diatomic, which is interesting. Maybe we can fix that. So here we're back in the coding environment. You'll remember I said if you put quaternion identity, it comes out straight up. And that's the problem here, is that if it is straight up, it doesn't spin when it collides with the walls. So let's take away this straight up and instead say we want to match the rotation of the diatomic prefab. So diatomic is the prefab. It has a transform that has the information about its rotation, and you just type rotation. Okay, so the diatomic prefab has a rotation built in. If you remember, we did that. So we can just save this, Control S, go back to Unity, try it again, play, and speed it up. Boom. And now you can see it's at an angle, so it will hit the walls at some sort of angle and spin, just like a diatomic should. Alright, I think that's it for this instructional video.